All right, welcome into Night Moods. This new edition, I call it the Super Conversations Month. You're in for a treat. A new friend of mine, Mark Savant, from down there in the southern half of the state of Florida, is coming to the conversation with me. Now, if you're new in the podcasting, new in the ministry, if you are looking to monetize or maybe have questions about monetizing, for the short bit of time that I have Mark here with me, we're going to dive right in. You're in for a special treat. With me is Mark Savant from Mark Savant Media. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, Dr. Thomas, I am awesome. I'm excited. Another beautiful day on this wonderful planet. So I'm excited to chat today. I love meeting new people. I love conversating. I love podcasting. So I'm in my element. Let's go.
I'm learning about the element. And, I got connected with you on, I call it the Holy Spirit type thing because I'm new to Clubhouse. I've been on there for a year, but I really don't know how to use it. So that event that you were on, that room, that group, I don't know what to call it yet. I'm still kind of a newbie in this whole space. That to me was just more of a stepping stool to where I want to be at on this mountain. And then you begin talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. There's other people out there paving the way for those of us in this space, albeit, yeah, I'm a teacher. But you guys, you're in for a treat. All things marketing in the perspective of the podcast industry. And you want to get your phones up, turn them on, do something. MarkSavantMedia.com. I want you guys to go there because he has a lot of stuff. And it's not just stuff, but it's innovative. It's to me, it's helping you get to the next level. And you have this thing I want to talk about real quick right off the bat, because our Night Eagles don't know who you are, but you're doing this where you actually want to help 10,000 folks get to six figures through the podcasting industry. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You might recognize this, Dr. Thomas. I recognize this. There are so many people working jobs that don't fill their cup, that are laborious, they're not fun. And I was one of those people. I would wake up every Monday staring at the ceiling and think, why do I have to go do this job that I hate? And eventually I decided to take action. And I tried dozens of different businesses until I found something that worked for me, which is podcasting. And that process of learning, improving, and building that business, it's empowered me to leave my job. And I wake up every month. This was recent too. I just left my day job about 2.5 months ago.
Oh, that's recent.
Yeah, it's very recent. And we could talk about what that experience has been like, but that process is so empowering. And I wake up every morning excited. I have energy. I get to meet new people. I get to stay in my zone of genius. And I want that feeling for more people because it's life-changing stuff, not just for you, but for all the people that you touch on a daily basis.
Right. Now, I got to back up the bus here because I got to bring everybody into what is it that you do? Mark Savant Media. Okay, what does all that mean? What do you do in this passion that God has given you? What do you do? What's this passion about? What do you do?
Yeah, so I run a podcast production agency, and I help busy professionals build status and sales with podcasts. I also host the After Hours Entrepreneur podcast.
I like that. Like that.
The After Hours Entrepreneur, which is designed to help young entrepreneurs get to that first six-figure year. Right? There's lots of podcasts out there that are interviewing millionaires and billionaires and jillionaires and all that. I say, hey, how can I get you to six figures? Because I've seen that the impact that's had on my life, on my family's life, on friends. And it's just a really empowering, and it's tough. Getting that first six-figure year is really, 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 really tough. That's like the big benchmark. And that's what the After Hours Entrepreneur podcast is designed to do. And, it's
I like it. I like the name of it. And I've been checking it out, listening, not just checking it out. It's a big difference from checking it out. I'll listen to it, see what it's about. No, I've actually been listening. And just like when we were on the Clubhouse, when you guys were out talking on the stage there, for me, it was like more momentum for me. And when you talk about, I was sitting there thinking as I was listening to you, the first step that you could share with someone who may be like myself, who's just getting into this, or someone who's maybe burnout. I've been hearing that a lot, and maybe because all what's on my plate, I'm experiencing that myself too. What's the first step to proceed for someone who's new? Let's back it up for someone who's new and watching this, saying, "Hey, what is this podcast? I get past my nerves. I don't know if I got a good voice. I don't know, blah blah blah." What's the first step? What's the first step to this deal?
Right. So the first step to having a podcast that works is there's a number of things. The first thing is you have to take action. You have to take action. I can't tell you the number of people. I have a good friend of mine who I spoke to about 3 years ago, and he saw what I was doing. He saw I was starting to get into media and production. He said, "Mark, that looks really cool. I want to do that too."
Right.
I want to do that too. I love the outdoors. I know what I'll do. I'll make an outdoor channel and I'll talk about how to live in the outdoors and how to be self-sufficient. I know how to do that. I love that. I'm going to do that. But I'm not going to start until I get my kayak, because once I buy my kayak, then I'll have a good show. Then I'll be able to move around. I'll be able to shoot video and these different. Yeah. Once I get my kayak, then I'll start my show.
Mhm.
Still hasn't. This show does not exist. 3 years later, he has not taken action. So, there's podcasting is not maybe not be right for you, right? But you don't know unless you take action, right? So step one is taking action, getting in the weeds, figuring out if it feels right, if it's enjoyable, and then that's step one, taking the action, because without action, you don't actually know if anything is going to happen, right? You need to take that first step.
I like that, because you talked, we have an acquaintance, and he talks about punch fear in the face.
Yeah.
And I wrote that down when you mentioned that on the Clubhouse deal. I was like, yeah, I know where Mark's at.
And by the way, Sean Cannell is going to be, I just interviewed him. He's coming on the podcast Monday. On Monday, our episode's going live with Sean Cannell, and it is brilliant. His story about punching fear in the face. I know you're a spiritual guy, so you probably know the story of Job.
Yeah.
Right. Sean Cannell's story is much like Job's story, where everything went kaput, but he was able to build back, and then everything went kaput again. He built back. So it's a really powerful story.
I'm on it. I'm there. I know I'll be there. For me, I want to be able to grow, and I want to be able to, I'm monetizing as we're talking now, which is good. And then, you drop this thing, like you want to help, and you don't hear that. Well, I should say, I don't hear that a lot, because I'm just getting into it. But I'm realizing the collaborative effort in the podcast industry. And when you mentioned you want to help, I'm like, man, I feel like I can open up the gates. And how can I contribute? But then this question came to me: the first step with achieving 6 figures for me, and I've been thinking about this all week leading up to our conversation, is the thought of the mind. For me, that's the first step. And you were talking about it, getting in the action, and like the thought of the mind. And so many ministers and so many just people of faith are like, they pigeonhole themselves and say, well, I can't live outside of this vastness of what is out there for me to get involved in. So with your passion, with what you want to do, how did you get to where you got to? What's the backstory to how you got here?
Well, so I kind of gave you the 1,000-foot overview.
Yeah.
But I think where I got to the place where I was able to leave my job, where I'm able to pay bills, where I'm able to get some momentum in my business, is kind of step 2, right? First, taking the action, hate my job, start doing something, try a bunch of things, find something that you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
The secret sauce, though, when your business, when your show starts to take off, is when you get clarity. Okay. I've heard a lot of people a lot of people, when we're starting off, a lot of young entrepreneurs, we have all these ideas, right?
Right.
Oh, I want to do this. Oh, but that looks cool too. Oh, but what about TikTok? And oh, I could be on YouTube. I could. It's tough, right? Especially with a podcast, it can almost feel like a puzzle where all these puzzle pieces are all over the place, and you're just not exactly sure what you're actually even trying to put together, right? The key is trying to get clear on who you serve, clear on the problem that they have, clear on how you can solve that problem. And then finally, clear on what does success look like for that person, right? So I kind of want to go back through that real slowly again, because this is a really great exercise, okay? So, anyone that's listening, whether you're live, shoot me a yeah in the comments. If you're in post, right? If you're trying to get clarity on what you do and who you serve, this is a great exercise. So first, write down who's your customer, or in this case, who's your audience. Who's my audience, right? Secondly, what's the problem that my audience has? Now, heck, if you're just starting out, you might write down a list of 20 problems, okay? But we want to try to get clear on what's the problem that my audience has. Third, what's my solution? How can you solve that problem? And then fourth, what does success look like to that person? What is that dream? What are they working for? Right. And, for me, I tested a lot of different things. I've been like, to your point, Dr. Thomas, I was in Clubhouse. I host a lot of rooms in Clubhouse, and I was just working with a lot of different people, trying to serve a lot of different types of problems. But in order to get to where I'm at today, I had to get really clear on those four answers to those four questions. And what I've come up with is helping busy professionals build status and sales with podcasts. My customer, is a professional. The problem, they're busy.
Yeah.
I solve that problem with podcasts, and success to them means status and sales. And so I think trying to get clear on that has been very formative in getting to where I'm at today, where I've got a vision, I'm clear on what I do, I'm clear on who I can help, and then you just go. Then you get to go. Then you get to punch the gas.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm noticing the subtle difference. You're talking about your customer, getting to know them versus, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Yes, that's awesome, but I'm listening to what you're saying. And I want you guys to listen to this. He is saying getting to know who you're serving. Yes. And that's the hard part. It took me about 5.5 months to just figure that whole deal, like who am I serving? And you're pretty niche down. You talked about, who you're serving. You actually went and you took it into a funnel type, and now your niche, and that's like your home run. That's like where you're moving and grooving and you're doing your thing. And that's where we all want to get to. And, getting there, and I realized, you have that breakthrough moment, like, I found it. Right. Then it's the settling in. And now the marketing, because like when we were on that Clubhouse, I was like writing so many notes. I had so many questions. Being a teacher and doing what I do for a living and having a small business, but it's really different in the podcast industry.
Yeah.
Because it's, for me, I say it's like selling a car. You got to be able to have the right vehicle, the right amount of marketing, and who you're marketing to, and who's going to buy your product, and who knows your product the best. And I think segueing to the marketing aspect, because I like what you said, we got to know who we're serving. And if you don't know who you're serving, you're kind of in the forest, like just throwing things at the wall, hoping for anything to stick, right?
Right. Well, because then the problem is then it's hard for you to actually develop good solutions, because, we're all different. We all have different problems. Yeah. If you're clear on who you serve and the problem that you can solve, then you can start to create solutions. And then you don't have to even sell anyone. People just come to you.
Yeah. I like what you just said. You don't have to continue to sell.
Yeah. People find you when they're like, I'm that person. I have that problem. You have a solution. And that's again, very difficult. The number one thing, again, when I'm working with young entrepreneurs, young podcasters, is I'll ask them a question like, well, who do you serve? Or what's your show about? And the answer is something along the lines of this. Well, it's I do a lot of different things. I serve a lot of people, and I talk about a lot of topics. And the issue with that is, you know, the more niche down you are, and the more specific you are on who you serve and how you can serve them, the better. And that's why taking action is key, because, you know, we make hypotheses, we'll make a guess. I'll give you a quick example here without hogging the mic here. But
no, you're fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
Quick example. My first show, I started because I'm a passionate father and I wanted to learn podcasting. I wanted to learn. I had no experience in broadcasting. I just knew that I hated my job and I wanted to try something. So I decided I'm going to talk about being an active father, playing an active role as a father, because I think that it's a pretty freaking important job.
Pretty much.
Pretty freaking important, right? And so I started the show and I called it Actadad. It was Actadad. I'm going to mix active and dad together. You're an Actadad. And I went through all this work, this show, the show art, the show notes, the recordings, tons of interviews. It was great. But what I recognized is that anytime you went to YouTube, or no, excuse, that's a different segment of the story. But what I recognized when I started looking at my analytics is that 60% of the people listening were women.
Right.
I was like, this show's for dads.
Right.
I'm interviewing NFL players and it's women that are listening, right? So I bring that story up as a perfect example of, you know, make some hypotheses, start taking action, and then analyzing, assessing what's working and who you serve. If I was just thinking I'm serving men, that would have been a fail, because if 60% of my audience is female, is women, I'll start speaking that language, right?
Yeah. And so like what you just said, it made me look at my analytics too, just recently, real quick. And I realized I'm like over 70% of females listening to the show. And I have my age demographics. I'm like, okay, so maybe I ought to have more different perspectives from our sisters and wives and aunts and business owners, whatever that is. But if I just forget and fail at that and don't worry about the analytics and keep, like, I'm just going to keep producing, then it's like you're in the desert and there's no oasis. There's nothing there for that's going to be a listener, right? 10,000, 6 figures. What is the determining factor? Now, I'm glad I got you on for a little bit of time we got. What is the determining factor that causes one? Is it the motivation? Is it the game plan? Is it, you know, how do you get there? Or maybe the better question is the why. How does one get to that 6 figures?
Right. So as I mentioned earlier, everyone's journey is different, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are several ways to really monetize the show, right? To monetize the show quickly and effectively. So you once we're clear, right? So we've taken action, we've gotten clarity about who we serve, how we serve them, what solution we have. Then you can start to put together offers, solutions, right? And some of the more popular ways are to have like a group or a paid community, right? That's something that a lot of people feel. We feel alone. We feel misunderstood. And bringing together people of a similar background or similar vibe or similar belief system, similar values is powerful. You know, and if that could be $5 a person or 10 or 20, Patreon is a really powerful way of monetizing, right? Like I'd mentioned, I have a group for podcasters and we're all podcasters. We've got about 2 dozen members in the group, all focused on growing income through podcasting. That's what we want to do. And so that's a powerful way. I think it's also helpful if you can devise some sort of higher ticket offer, right?
Okay.
You know, so for example, for me, I help busy business owners, busy professionals launch shows. And that's a $5,000 launch. So if I can get a few launches, you know, every, you know, couple launches a month or a couple months, that's a big deal. Right?
Yeah. Right.
So I've got a high ticket offer, I've got a lower ticket offer, right? Um, so that's a great way of going about it. Obviously, you can find sponsors for your show. That's a method too. I find that typically finding sponsors that are going to really turn the needle on your podcast is challenging. You know,
Hmm.
that could be a whole discussion of itself. Um,
Yeah.
you know, we're also living in a world where, you know, there's a lot of people that are willing to pay to be on podcasts. That can be a substantial source of income. You can set up like a drop shipping store where you're selling shirts or widgets, right? So there's a lot of different ways, but I think one of the best ways to monetize a podcast is with the networking aspect. And one of the cool things about podcasting that you're probably aware of, Dr. Thomas, is you're able to get people on the phone that you might not normally be able to chat with.
Exactly. And I think that's the coolest thing. It really is.
I got to interview a Super Bowl champion on my first podcast within 1 month. I was like, this is amazing. This is so
I haven't
cool.
had enough time to get into all of your podcast shows. I'm like, but it is exactly as you say. If you put yourself out there, professionally, people are going to receive you in this community. And I don't think I found an industry that's quite like this, to be in all honesty.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. I just don't think there's an industry like this with the competitive nature of what broadcast is likened to sports. I mean, it could be a dog eat dog world, but this industry that I'm stepping into, I'm telling you, when I got introduced to you and I was like, man, I was just like selling it. I'm like, how can I just like get his ear and just kind of like, because like for me stepping into it as a newbie, as someone who's green, I'm like, oh, I got this, I got that. And then I'm listening to your podcast earlier today. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's okay to have this burnout, but it's that motivation. It's just doing it for 10 minutes, like you talked about. Just doing it for 5 minutes,
Yes.
even if it sucks, do it for 5 minutes. You don't have to put a whole 45-hour show into it. If I'm burnt out, I'll get on for 5, get on for 10 minutes, and then get off, and then go about my next priority or go about taking care of me in the middle of what I'm doing for the podcasting. You talked about a little bit of marketing, and I got to have you on again, this because, and you guys got to go to his website and then link up and be a part of this business entrepreneur after hours, because it's like really kind of cool. When do you do this? When you do this 7 days a week?
Well, so the podcast After Hours Entrepreneur, there's 260 episodes. So there's a lot of episodes, all designed to, again, help you generate the income. You can listen to it on any podcast player, After Hours Entrepreneur. And yeah, the group that I run, we meet every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Although now that we're growing, I might be adding on an additional room, an additional session on a weekly basis. I like to keep them small where you feel like you're heard and you can actually be involved in the conversation. There's a lot of resources too, checklists, guides. It's only $50 a month. It's a really easy way to really dive in and level up. This month we're going to be doing a giveaway. The person with the most iTunes reviews. Hey, yeah, you got the launch guide, the podcast cheat sheet. Love it.
Love it.
Yeah. So those I'm just trying to find ways to serve. The more serve. Because in to your point, Dr. Thomas, I think that this community, the podcast community in general, is very much, there's a lot of a growth mindset going on, right?
Yeah.
It's not, if I get a new listener, I'm taking from you. It's more about, the more I give, the more I'm going to receive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, a much more healthy and positive way to look at the world. We need more people giving, more doing,
True that. And that's why I'm learning. And for me to be introduced to you and to, we sit and chat for a little bit, and just, getting to learn, like as the scripture said, know those who you labor with. But this industry, this space, and for me, it is like I'm like a sponge. And so I want to say I appreciate what you bring to many tables in this industry. I'm not just saying that because I have you here, because when I was on the Clubhouse, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. How can we just connect just to build rapport? And so I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing. And anytime you have a time, you have a home here, because I just what you have to offer to other guys like me who are just getting involved in this, to be a part of what you're doing, and to maybe add, if we could add to what you got going on, but you're adding so much wealth and the marketing aspect, which we didn't have, maybe we can bring you back on and just knock out the marketing and the NFTs, man. I'm just getting involved in NFTs, so I got questions. I got questions.
Yeah. Generally, when I start going into NFTs, everyone's like, "Come on, Mark, just stop, just stop." But it's a fascinating space. I also host a show called NFTs Made Simple, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is a good one. And I just want to give some acknowledgement to Jill here in the audience. Thank you, Jill. I'm so glad that you could join us for a few minutes, walk away with a few lessons. And if I could just give one, I think the best piece of advice I can give anyone, although I hate using broad terms like anyone, but it's take action. Take action. I can't tell you the number of times that people say, "Hey, Mark, I really want a podcast. I want a podcast. It's so cool. This is just not the right time. I'm too, I've got too much going on at work, or my kids are taking up too much time, or school." I'll tell you this. It is never going to be the right time. It's never going to be the right time. It's never going to happen. There's always going to be a reason not to do it. For a little biblical reference here, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was not telling you that God doesn't exist, but just telling, it's not today. You'll go to church, but not today.
Right.
That is, you got to take the action. I just want to just shake people.
I know. I want to scream, like, just take the action, and you will not regret the choice. Without the action, it's inactivity.
Yes.
So without the action is inactivity. If I'm hearing what Mark is saying, without the action is inactivity. That's why I love the fact that how you came on, it's like reverberating. It's punch fear in the face. It's just getting and stepping into it, and just keep stepping into it. And if you make mistakes, keep making those mistakes, because at some point you're going to stop making less mistakes.
That's right. And I want to show you some love and you some respect for making this happen. You've got your live stream set up, and you're multi-stream, and you've got a microphone and headphones, and you're a teacher, and you're taking the action, my friend. That's where I don't know. That makes me feel good to pour into people that are taking action. It's just you change your own life, you change the life of everyone around you when you take action. So props to you. I'm serious about this. I have radio in my background, and this is really kind of interesting, but I'm serious about this. I want to be, as many of you watching the on a later episode, it's about being a person of excellence for me. It's about giving back and being able to help everyone. I just said that broad term, helping you in your identity. And if this little space of night moods, with the communications and the conversations that we have, and we're like bringing Mark on here, and I'm telling you, this cat right here, and what he's doing, when you go to his website and just kind of listen to his podcast, he's not talking over your head. He's talking to you, and he's there for you to win. And he wants you to be successful. That's what I appreciate about you, Mark. You actually want people to be successful. I'm glad that shines through, because that is, I don't know. It makes me feel good when I see other people doing good, and I don't know what else to say. Baby. I hope I didn't come in here too hot on night moods, because I know we're all supposed to be winding down, get ready for bed, but I just get fired up, baby. I don't know.
I'm the same way. I love the show. Mark, how can they get a hold of you if they are serious about taking the next step of action, whatever that is for you? If you're serious about taking the next step of action, Mark, how can they get a hold of you?
Just send me an email, mark@marksavantmedia.com. mark@marksavantmedia.com. And that's Mark with a K. I got nothing against the Marks with the C's. They're cool, but Mark with a K, mark@marksavantmedia.com. Shoot me an email. I would love to.
And you're on your way. Go to his website and pick up this podcast cheat sheet. I'm telling you guys, when you go through it, he's got questions in here for you. I'm going through the questions, And it's just steps at a time. And you got this. You got me like Jimmy Valvano. Yeah, you could do it, baby. Mark, thank you so much for being with me, and look forward to having you on another time. If you guys have questions, send your email, send your messages. We'll forward them over to Mark. You can also catch him on Instagram and Twitter and Clubhouse. For now, that's our time here inside Night Moves. Mark, thank you for being with me, my friend.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Appreciate you. Have a good night. Signing off here. Take care. Remember, love yourself as you love others, and bless yourself as you bless others. Take care for now.